What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome to Jets Today. I got a familiar face. I'm sure maybe some of you guys know who this is. This is Kevin from The Buffalo Jet Fan. He's got his own YouTube channel. He's joining us. He's filling in for the man who didn't want to be here, James. He actually did want to be here. He had to have a day off. So I believe he's at a wedding actually. So James, if you're watching this, or even if you're watching it afterwards, hope you're doing well. Hope the wedding is going good. Kevin, you're here. How are you feeling, man? How's it going?
What's going on, guys? I know you're thinking, James, you got more handsome. But no, it's me. I mean, a wedding, that better be Zach Wilson's wedding, man, to miss out on Jets today. This is unacceptable. But I'm honored to be here and talk some Jets with you guys. Let's get it going. Jet up that like button.
Yeah, appreciate that. And again, guys, I'm going to include Kevin's channel URL, but it's not hard to find. Just type The Buffalo Jet Fan into YouTube or Google, and it'll pop up. And
There's
great
not many of
content.
us.
No, there aren't too many Buffalo Jet fans out there with YouTube channels. So we got Straight 100 Jets here. He says, what's going on, John and Kevin? You guys are great. Thank you very much for tuning in. Good evening to you, Aaron. Good evening to Steven as well, and Isaac Wright. So let's not waste any time. Are you okay with getting into some mailbags here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so for anybody that's just watching this right now, of course, hit the like button. And if you're new here, also consider subscribing to the channel. We're going to go through, some submitted mailbags that were given to me over the last couple of days. And, feel free to throw your comments in there. When I put a mailbag up, I will be reading the comments, as I go through it. Kevin will talk, and give his take on, the mailbags. And there are some really interesting ones this week. And you got a preview of that, Kevin. So anyway, if you want to have your comment read while we're doing the mailbags, feel free to submit a super chat. Of course, no requirements to do that though, and I will get to your comments as soon as I can. So without any further ado, mailbag number 1, and there are quite a few this week. So this is from Straight 100 Jet. He is a frequent caller a frequent caller on the Sunday call-in show. That was a mouthful. And he says, I predict that Garrett Wilson, if he stays healthy, that he's going to be a future top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. And he says that I also think that Elijah Moore will be a top 5. I'm sorry, he and Elijah Moore will be a top 5 wide receiver duo for years to come. What are your future predictions for Garrett Wilson by himself, and maybe also some Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore combo predictions? So, Kevin, you're the man of the hour. What are your thoughts on some predictions for Garrett Wilson and then maybe the duo as well?
Well, first of all, I love the pick. Was my wide receiver number 1. And I think what Joe Douglas did really well is obviously he got some really good players, but he got players with a really high floor, right? We're not talking boom or bust here. It's not Trevon Walker. It's not Derek Stingley. Worst case scenario, Garrett Wilson is going to be a highly productive slot receiver in the NFL. Best case scenario, John just laid it out. Top 5 wide receiver. And what I love about the combination between him and Elijah Moore is we get versatility, right? We get people talk about who's the X, who's the Y, who's the slot. All I know is we got some ballers at wide receiver, some chess pieces that we can move around in different positions. You bring in Berrios. What kind of squirrely shit he's going to be up to? We don't know. The defensive coordinator has to account for that. So I'm really, really excited about the versatility. They both can take jet sweeps, give you a little juice in the run game. So top 5, if he hits, absolutely. I think it's more than reasonable that if you take a player 10th overall, you expect that he has a top 5 ceiling. And like I said, the absolute worst case scenario for Garrett Wilson is that he is a highly productive receiver in the slot. Best case, top 5. As a duo, I think their skill sets are pretty similar. I mean, for me, Garrett Wilson is almost like Elijah Moore, but 2 inches taller and 15 pounds heavier. And I think that their skill sets complement Corey Davis really, really well. I'm excited to see what our wide receiver group brings to the table this year. Go Jets.
Yep. Well said. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what kind of prognostication I want to give for what's going on, Dark Soldier. I don't want to necessarily go crazy and give some wild prediction because we've been snake bitten before, and I'm not saying that Garrett Wilson is not crazy talented and well worth the pick. He absolutely is. I'm not going to go too crazy here. I'm going to go ahead and say that for sure he and Elijah Moore have some serious potential. The combination is very, very deadly. In terms of what I expect from him this season, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and say that, for this season, he is going to be one of the 3 wide receivers that we target quite a bit. I think Corey Davis is still in the mix. Elijah Moore is in the mix. And I don't expect them to pepper him with targets. It's not going to be like he's, 7, 8, 9, 10 targets a game, every game. There certainly could be games, though, where he goes off. And I had mentioned to Matt O'Leary in a video that you guys will probably see on his channel in the coming days. No spoilers there, but he asked me point blank. He's like, what are you expecting for Garrett Wilson? And I just think that they're going to bring him along pretty slowly. We have receivers that have been in the system now for more than 1 year. And so I'm going to go slow with Garrett Wilson. I don't want to go too crazy and have such crazy expectations for him, but certainly he and Elijah Moore, I will not hold back on that. The two of them combined can be very, very special. So thank you for the mailbag, Straight 100 Jets. And people are talking about this wedding. Who gets married on a weekday? Bizarre. I don't know if it was a weekday wedding, although that does seem to happen sometimes. Were you a weekday or a weekend wedding?
I was a Friday before a Monday holiday, so I feel like that's weekend.
Yeah, no, that counts. That definitely counts. All right, so you're not a bizarre person then. Edward Stewart, he says, number 19, good evening, everyone. Good to see you in the chat. You change your profile picture every time, I feel like, Edward Stewart. You got a new one every week, and now you got the Matt Snell profile picture. Looking good, though. All right, let's go to the next mailbag. This is from Caden Smith, and he's offering some constructive criticism here. So he says, in my opinion, Douglas crushed the draft, but he failed undrafted free agency. So many good players like Lindstrom, Donovan West, players like, Verone McKinley, Sterling Weatherford, Jack Sanborn were all available, and we missed out on all of them. Players that could have been developed. So I think Douglas could have done better there. That's an interesting comment. And, he's specifically talking about undrafted free agents. What are your thoughts on, maybe you have a player in mind? I know there's one off the top of my head that I kind of like, but, as far as missed opportunities in the undrafted free agency, what are your thoughts there?
Man, well, first of all, Caden, you were one of my first subscribers, but I'm going to give you some tough love, brother. So here's what has happened. You walked out in your driveway in the morning, and somebody had gifted you a Mercedes-Benz, and you're complaining about the scent of the little tree dangling from the mirror. Listen, with undrafted free agency, the players get a choice in where they sign. And me and John both teach fifth grade math, so let me think. About a 3% chance that they sign with any given franchise if there's 32 teams. Right? So I can't go JD on that. The guys you named, I do like. I'd be really happy if we got them on our team. So you obviously have a good eye for talent. And I appreciate the comment. But I don't think the undrafted free agency class, no matter what we did, would have moved the grade on our overall draft for me at all. We did get Donovan Knight, who was an all ACC running back, got a chance to make the team if we carry 4 deep at running back. Also got a really athletic and big corner that we could switch to safety like we did with Jason Pinnock last year. Also a linebacker who could make the team just because we're so weak there. So for me, I didn't know a lot of these guys. Honestly, we're throwing darts here. Yeah. And the NFL draft is up to chance anyway. And undrafted free agency even more so. So although I would have liked to add those guys, I don't think it changes how I feel about the draft as a whole.
All right. Well said. I don't really have a whole lot to add here. The player that I was thinking about that we got was, I believe it was Donovan Knight. Is that his name?
Zonovan.
Yeah, sorry. So, he's a guy that apparently looked very, very good. I have not had the time to watch film on him or anything like that. But yeah, I guess overall the UDFA class that we brought in is maybe a little bit underwhelming. But like you said, how can you be so critical? I think it was, it's hard to pull these guys in. And I think that a lot of times the Jets, they've been almost desperate in these circumstances. And maybe we're now finally at the point where we're not so desperate to pull in all these UDFAs like we've been doing in the past. How's it going, King Sam? He says, can you say hi to me? Hello, good man. We've got the jersey winner, by the way, Shane Coughlin in the house. He won the Jets Today NFL Draft giveaway. So
Awesome.
congrats to you, Shane. I have not forgotten. I'm going to be ordering that jersey for you, and it will come as soon as Sauce Gardner picks the jersey number. All right, let's go to the next mailbag, and then I think we have a super chat that we'll get to in a moment. This is a really cool question, and he just submitted it today. And this is from Straight Fire, an OG of the channel. So over a year ago, this guy was tuning in for our streams. He says, how good can this draft class really become? If they hit, we'll definitely be competitive this season. It's a pretty broad question. How good can this class be? That's the question.
Well, I think it can be really damn good.
Yeah.
I think Sauce Gardner, to me, you know, and again, I don't want to put the jinx on anybody saying that any player is bust proof, but man, it's just hard to it's hard to imagine Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson not being good in the NFL. And Sauce Gardner, I think he's the one player that probably has a Hall of Fame ceiling. Not saying he'll get there. There's a bunch of things that have to go right, but I think he is a Hall of Fame caliber talent. I think he's the best cornerback prospect to come out since Jalen Ramsey. I think Garrett Wilson is worst case scenario. He's a really good number 2. And Jermaine Johnson, I'm not sure. Edge is really tough to project for me, so I'm optimistic because he's a Jet. But I mean, again, worst case scenario, he's really good against the run, and he throws you 5 or 6 sacks a game. The pick that I'm probably might have the biggest impact on our offense year one is Breece Hall. I think he's going to get more touches than Michael Carter. I think he's going to lead the team in scrimmage yards. I think he's going to change offensive life for this team immediately. And man, what a statement. I mean, name me the box safety or will linebacker that's going to move the needle more in wins and losses and support our young quarterback than Breece bleeping Hall. I can't wait. If you told me in 3 years Breece Hall is winning a rushing title, I'm not shocked, and I'm really excited. That's the surprise pick for me, and I'm really pumped. So I think to me, Sauce and Breece are the home runs, and I'm optimistic, but I can't say for sure about the other guys.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm going to say that it's extremely, extremely high. And I know a lot of people have talked about the 2000 draft class where we had the 4 first-round picks, and I was a fan at the time. I'm not, not just going back in time and learning about this. That was a really good class at the time as well. And honestly, this class has as good of an opportunity to be better. There's no doubt in my mind because you mentioned Breece Hall. I think of Mr. Ruckert. Mr. Ruckert in the 3rd round, near the end of the 3rd round. I was so happy with that draft pick. I cannot express how excited I am that he is a New York Jet and that he's going to be potentially the long-term answer at the tight end spot, because I don't think we necessarily have that in Uzama and Conklin. I think they're very good for the short term, but long-term though, Ruckert, man, I think that's that's the thing that's crazy. And I don't want to sit here and say that every draft pick's going to pan out, because that's not going to happen. But it feels like those first 5 draft picks? Yeah, 5 or 6 draft picks. It feels like all of them are going to have the really good shot to be really, really good football players. And that's what you're trying to get. You're trying to get guys that it's a really good shot. You want the odds in your favor. And I feel like they're really good in our, they're stacked on our side of the table. So.
And Rucker probably would have been our tight end 1 last year. He
would have been.
He'd been better than Griffin or Croft were last year, and now he's going to be tight end 3. What a change!
Yeah, it's insane. I don't want to digress here, but basically, I had spoken about it early in the offseason, and I was like, you know what? Maybe they just need to rehaul the entire tight end room, and that's kind of outlandish to say, but they legitimately did it. They flipped the entire tight end room in one offseason, which is just remarkable.
Didn't spend a lot of money to do it either. Did it on the cheap.
Yeah, smart money, and draft capital wasn't outrageous either. So just nuts, man. All right, this is the super chat from Dark Soldier. He says, injury aside, the Jets will surprise many people. And I was just listening to a clip of Dan Orlovsky of ESPN, and he was talking about Zach Wilson has a chance to have a really big year this year. He didn't really throw out any numbers. He didn't really throw out anything specific, but he just said he could have a really big year. And I completely agree. If things break our way, and not everything's going to break our way, but if certain things break our way, if our offensive line can stay healthy, if Elijah Moore can take a step forward, if Zach Wilson can be a little bit more consistent week to week, Yes, things can go really, really well for us this upcoming season. So I hear you and agree with you. Any thoughts on the surprising people, Kevin?
Yeah, definitely. And we talk about win totals, and it's always tough. And honestly, I'm always going to be having a thumb on the scale as an optimistic Jets fan. I'm gonna when the schedule comes out, I'm gonna have us like winning the tiebreaker with the Bills and winning the division because I can't help myself. But I think, one thing I think we're going to, besides wins and losses, I think we need to give ourselves permission to be excited that here's what I know. I know that the Jets got a hell of a lot better and that this is the best caliber talent we have been rolling out since at least 2015. I know that we are going to be worth the price of admission at MetLife Stadium. We're going to be worth putting on national TV. We have like 4 or 5 guys now who it's worth buying their jersey. Last jersey I bought was Jamal Adams. We are a legitimate football franchise, and that's something to be proud of.
Absolutely. And this comment right here goes along with what you're saying. Patriots game is on the coaching staff. We are definitely a better team than them. And that's also another topic that I saw on, different, videos online. I saw where Bart Scott spoke about it. And I get he's a little bit biased, but there were other people involved in that conversation. And they are agreeing that on paper, the Jets are the better squad than the Patriots. So I agree with that. And that's something that we're going to talk about this summer. Our coaches have to definitely take a step forward if these young players are going to take a step forward. Like we're talking about Elijah Moore and Zach Wilson. I honestly think the conversation might need to begin with Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur and Jeff Holbrook. I think that's where we need to be looking right now because those guys have got to get these players in sync, and they've got to get them to know the schemes and to be able to execute the schemes that they're running. So big stuff, coming their way. There's a lot of pressure for these coaches to get these guys ready. So, all right, cool. Good stuff. Let's go to another mailbag. And this is from Jorge, who is another frequent call-in for the Sunday call-in show. And he says, by year's end, what 2 players on defense and offense do you see as total difference makers? He said his thoughts were Carl Lawson and Sauce Gardner. And then on offense, Garrett Wilson. I'm not sure if he's saying Garrett. That's the thing. He didn't specify Garrett Wilson or Zach Wilson. And
That's
then
when you guys are the same last names now, man.
Yeah. And then he also threw in Breece Hall as well. Maybe you could just give me one for each, offense and defense. Who are your difference makers for the 2022 season?
Sure. Offense, I think the biggest difference is going to be Zach Wilson taking another step forward. Not, Mekhi Becton coming back or even Garrett Wilson or Breece Hall being on the team. That's not going to make up for Zach Wilson going from, what was objectively like bottom 5 quarterback play last year to middle of the pack quarterback play. I think a reasonable expectation for next year is for Zach Wilson to establish himself as the second best quarterback in the AFC over Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones, who he is significantly more talented than. Our offense and our personnel didn't allow for him to show it off a lot last year, but Zach Wilson has a piss missile and he can run. And Mac Jones is built like a Lego covered in melted cheese, and Tua's arm, I think, is in John's backyard, being used as a pool noodle this summer. So I think that is a more than reasonable expectation for Zach Wilson in year 2. Now, on defense, I think Carl Lawson is going to come back strong. And, everyone's talking about the murky offseason of Mekhi Becton, but nobody wants to talk about Carl Lawson absolutely killing it. And he's gonna regenerate stronger like the freaking Wolverine, and he's gonna change our life defensively. I think in our defensive front as a whole, do we have one guy, a Myles Garrett, a TJ Watt, that you have to double, triple team? No. But we got a front of 4 guys who can consistently beat single teams, and we got a stable 8, 9 deep we can rotate in. We're going to be getting home to the quarterback this year, and that's going to be led by the return of Carl Lawson.
Very nicely said. He was on the field, I believe, was it today or yesterday? He was there, and he's looking good, looking strong. His recovery is very, very important to this team, and I think the expectation is that he's going to be ready for the season. I guess the question is also how ready is he going to be playing, as a starter? Is he going to still be playing like a situational role coming back from the injury? It'll be very, very important to see what ends up happening. Vern with a really interesting answer. He says DJ Reed is his biggest difference maker on defense. I actually like that answer quite a bit. I hadn't thought about that one. I think the Jets really like this kid. I don't want to speak, obvious terms, but I think they really like him. I think that they saw a great value in him. They see a guy that can come in right away and be a cornerback that starts on this defense. And let's not kid ourselves. We thought that the Robert Saleh scheme, they didn't value cornerbacks. You can kiss that goodbye. They clearly value cornerbacks because they rehauled that room as well. Like the tight end room, we talk a lot about how they rehauled the whole position group. They really did the same thing with the cornerbacks. Brandon Echols was drafted the year prior. Michael Carter the second was drafted the year prior. And then they add two another, very, very good talents, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. So that's a great answer. Somebody had mentioned Bryce Hall. I don't know how much playing time he gets, but if he does get on the field, I still like him and I still feel very comfortable with him on the football field. Biggest difference maker on offense and defense. I'm going to go offense. I'm going to say AVT. I think AVT, if we're talking about next steps for players, I think we want Elijah Moore in that conversation, Zach Wilson in that conversation, but AVT, it's going to begin up front. So I'm hoping for him to have a monster second season with the Jets. And then for defense, this one's a little bit harder for me. I'm going to go ahead and actually say Jordan Whitehead. I think he's going to be a leader. I think that he is going to be a playmaker. And he's going to move all over the place. If you saw the Michael Nania tweet about Jordan Whitehead, they move him all over hell and creation in that Tampa Bay defense. And I can't imagine that the Jets saw him as a free agent target and just said, we will just use him as a safety. Like, we're not going to do a whole lot of things with him to be creative. They're going to move him all over the place. So Jordan Whitehead, that's my answer. And I'll go with AVT as well. Sean McAteary says Reed is an awesome upgrade. And so is Whitehead. Michael N. I still think this is Michael Nania just hiding. He's lurking.
Yeah, it's his burner account.
He says it's a rotational defense. Hall will see some playing time. Going to have some fresh legs on the field at all times. Defense is going to be a huge improvement this year. All right, let me see if there's any more comments. Oh, okay. This would be nice. And very, very important. Quincy Williams taking it up a notch at linebacker. We are thin at linebacker. We will talk a little bit about that because there is a mailbag specifically about that. So we will continue on. And let's go to this mailbag. It's from Grant Rude. He is a frequenter of the Jets Today channels and the live streams. And here's his mailbag. He says, do you see a scheme change for the secondary by the end of the year? Cornerback 1 and 2 went from Hall and Echols to Gardner and Reed. He's thinking that Michael Carter II will stay in the slot. And then you got to have that light, baby. And then he said, more man, split field concepts, 1 versus 2 high safeties, more blitzing. What kinds of scheme changes potentially do you see for the Jets defense, if any? Maybe you don't think they're going to change a whole lot. What are your thoughts on how they'll roll this defense out on the red carpet, Kevin?
Hey, Grant. Thanks for the question, brother. And there's a really elaborate scheme. I want to make sure I'm getting the verbiage right, so bear with me. It's called, hey, Sauce Gardner, you take that guy. DJ Reed, you take that guy. Carl Lawson, Jermaine Johnson. Gentlemen, pin your ears back and get us home. Because the upgrade of talent, we're not going to need to rely as much on gimmicks. Like, we can just line up and ball. And on the point, we talked about Breece Hall a little bit earlier, and this team not evaluating cornerback. This staff evaluates excellent talent. And one thing I'll say about Grant is he's on to something, because good coaches tailor their scheme and their systems to highlight the talent that they have. We play too much zone. Why do we take a press corner? Listen, if my cornerback room looks like Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Bryce Hall, Michael Carter, I'm playing more man. And maybe we go with, when we go nickel, the thing about Bryce Hall is I don't know if he could play the slot. And I don't think he's moving to safety. So he may be kind of an odd man out, and he may be there for depth. But I think that they're going to be flexible and get the 11 best defenders on the field, however that looks. I do think with how thin we are at linebacker, I think we might see more like a 4-2-5, where we have 5 defensive backs and 2 linebackers on the field. So maybe like CJ and Quincy are the only 2 linebackers. And then you have maybe 3 corners or maybe a third safety, because I think that would allow us to get the best talent on the field. The Buffalo Bills run that a lot. A lot of teams are going with that look. So that could be a potential scheme that we roll out a little bit more often.
There you go. Good stuff. I don't want to add on too much to that. I'll just say that I think that they are going to play a lot of man coverage this season. And James Wighouse, who you guys all know from Jets X Factor, he talks a lot about that. We all thought that it was going to be a cover 3, cover 4 zone type of defense that we were going to see in year 1. And in actuality, according to James, who does watch a lot of film, he said we ran a lot of man coverage and in very important situations too. It wasn't,
on third down, it was a lot of man.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that's not going to change. They clearly want to man up, and they, like you said, they want to just pin their ears back on that defensive line and get after the quarterback. No truer words have been said. Can't wait for September. I'll actually go ahead and I'll say I can't wait for July. I can't wait for training camp. I'm looking forward to that, man. I'm going to finally go. I have never been to Jets training camp, and I'm going to do that this year. That'll be the first time I've made the journey. My wife and I will go, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to hanging out with some fans and also getting to watch the New York Jets practice as well. All right, let's see what Grant Reed says, and then we'll get to our mailbag. He says, I feel like the Jets drafted to match up against the Bengals type defense that are likely to get some copycats in the league. You need a solid cornerback room to combat ridiculous wide receiver rooms. And absolutely. And that's the thing that I'm not giving myself credit here when I say this, but we were never going to just get by with, drafting a million edge rushers on this defense. That you have to have guys that can match up on the outside. And that's exactly what you're alluding to here, Grant Rude. Getting some cornerbacks that can go against Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, should I dare say Devontae Parker? And then obviously Stephon Diggs. Yeah, and the AFC is just stacked. There's so many ridiculous wide receivers. So if we're ever going to make any noise, we had to get somebody like Sauce and like DJ Reed in the room to be able to combat that. You cannot just rely on your pass rush. Of course, that's always going to be king, because if you do not get a pass rush, it doesn't matter who you have in the back end. So got to have both, in my opinion.
Agreed.
All right. Good conversation. And let's go ahead and let's ask the people that are here. Go ahead and hit that like button, guys. If you haven't done that already, smash it for us. And let me know, what you're thinking of Kevin. Should I ever have him back? Should I kick him off right now? Let me know. And again, check out his channel as well. He does have a channel, The Buffalo Jet Fan. That is the name of his channel. And I will link that at the end of the stream. I'll put it as a pinned comment. And so you guys can jump to his channel. All right. Let's keep the train moving here. We've got, oh Lord, are you ready? Are you ready, Kevin? This is the one. This is the one. So I posted the mailbag last night, and I was, just fishing for a couple of interesting takes. And this was one that was certainly a little bit of a head scratcher. I'm not going to criticize only Jets on Twitter. I do appreciate the mailbag. And he says, JD has made some debatable trade-ups, AVT last year and Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall this year. I think he's a little too aggressive, and he gives away draft capital that we need. Last year, we found starters with our 5th and 6th round picks. Do you agree that JD should be more patient? Kevin, you're up.
Well, I think that this question poses a little bit of a false dichotomy, because JD has been patient, and his patience has allowed him to come up and make those moves. JD fleeced the Seahawks with Jamal Adams' trade. He got rid of Sam Darnold, even though I myself was kind of a late Sam Darnold truther. Thank God I didn't have a YouTube channel then, man. I'd have to eat some receipts. So when you're really, really disciplined, and when you're patient for a while, right? When you're saving and you're scraping every penny, you don't have to decide whether to fix the car or to go on vacation. You can do both. And the players that he's come up for, I'm not going to complain about having AVT, Breece Hall, and Jermaine Johnson on the Jets. And when you talk about all those draft picks, we're already a young team. So there's only so many rookies you're going to have that are going to make the roster. So I think it made sense to condense those picks and get the premier talent.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to say that's such a great point because in all likelihood, we're going to wind up for the first time in a long time having to maybe make some tough decisions at the end of training camp. We might actually see some players that we don't want to cut. We end up having to cut them, which is a great breath of fresh air, to have that as a potential thing that has to come our way. This guy needs to switch to decaf. I hear what he's saying. What he is suggesting is that the mid rounds are valuable, the late rounds are valuable. You can find draft, great players in those ranges. The Seahawks made a living on that when they had their dynasty. Having said that, though, we didn't really find starters in the last draft in the 5th or 6th round. And I think what he's referring to is Michael Carter II, who, the verdict is still out. I think he was drafted in the 5th round. We don't know what he's going to be. We hope that he becomes a really good slot cornerback. Jamian Sherwood, we don't know what he is. He's coming off of an Achilles tear, and he didn't look all that great before he got injured. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. But in all, summarizing this, I don't think that he's overly aggressive, and you're right to point out he accumulated the draft capital for the draft that we just saw. He was very aggressive intentionally. And I don't think that moving forward, that's like the new Joe Douglas. Like, we're not going to see that from him in every draft. He's going to use the draft as a way to build the team and to make it better. And so if it's sticking and picking, he'll do that. And if it's needing to trade up to get guys that he just thinks the opportunity is too good to do, or to pass, he'll do that too. AC says we got 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. Right. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Those 7 drafted players were all in the first 4 rounds, and a typical draft class has 7 players in it. So hard to be critical. And
exactly. Like if we only came away with 3 picks and but to have the same number of picks as a normal team and still get the premier talent, I think it's the best of both worlds.
Yep. Well said. Drupacabra, best profile name ever. He says, high-end talent is what we need. And actually, a good follow on Twitter is Brian. I don't know his actual Twitter handle, but he has some really good takes. And he said the same thing. We needed to get some difference makers. That's the thing. We have some guys that are developing. We have some young talent in the wings. We need some guys that can really ball out and make big, big plays on Sundays. And I think that's what this draft class really resonates to me, is the number of guys that can make game-changing plays at any point during a football game. So, all right, good stuff. Let's go to this one. This is from Jared, who is here with us. Jared, thanks for the mailbag. He says, outside of Zach, who ends up making the biggest impact this upcoming season? The rookies, the second-year starters, or free agent signings? I actually like the way he phrased this. So outside of Zach, and where are you looking? Rookies, second-year players, or the free agent class? I think it's a great question.
It is an excellent question. And the rookies, I don't think it's realistic I love Jermaine Johnson and Garrett Wilson, but I don't think Garrett Wilson's going to go for 1,000 yards in his rookie year. I don't think Jermaine Johnson's going to get double-digit sacks in his rookie year. Down the line, yes. So Sauce Gardner, he's going to be a plug-and-play, out-of-the-box, ready to go. But when I look at this team, I'm looking towards the offensive line, and I think the additions of Laken Tomlinson and Mekhi Becton coming back are just going to change our life offensively. We're going to add some nastiness, and this is probably the best offensive line we've rolled out in a decade, probably since our last playoff run over 10 years ago. And Laken Tomlinson being a rock-solid starter, Pro Bowl level guard, and nasty run blocker. And then Mekhi Becton, who most people prefer him at left tackle. I like him at right tackle. I like him in the run game. I like him in the screen game. I like him mauling corners and linebackers 10 yards downfield. So I look at those 2 additions, one via free agency, and then I guess one just coming back from injury, as 2 really, really big difference makers next year.
Good answer. The the offensive line is critical, especially the starting unit. They've got to gel quickly so that we can kind of hit the ground running. I'm leaning towards free agency, actually, and it's a tie between that and the second-year players. I'll go with second-year players because there are some really important ones there. AVT, Elijah Moore, excuse me, Michael Carter. I think, for whatever, whatever was going on after the draft, however he felt about the Breece Hall draft pick, I still think he's a big part of this offense and will touch the ball in critical situations. So I'm counting on him, AVT, and Elijah Moore to really help to get this offense burning, because that's what we need. We need the offense to start scoring some points. And yes, AC is right. The tight ends in the free agency class completely flipped that tight end room on its head. We are drastically better in the tight end room, because of those two guys. All right. We're moving right along here. We are getting closer to the end. This is a interesting question, and I will answer it first. I don't always do that. I will answer this one first. Do you think the Jets should have drafted a place kicker or a punter? No, I do not. I didn't want to spend a draft pick on a kicker or a punter. I think that Braden Mann, I will say this is probably a do or die year for him. He's going to need to punt the ball very effectively for us to retain him and not replace him. And then the kicker situation, I like Pinheiro, and I think we added Greg the Leg Zerline, right? We added him in the competition. Yep. So I think you're fine at kicker. And, if anything, maybe they bring in another punter to compete. But no, please, God, do not draft a punter or a kicker. You can do it. You can do it in the future if you need to. I liked the Braden Mann pick at the time. So what are your thoughts, Kevin, on should we have drafted a kicker or a punter?
I would have said maybe if we had any 6th or 7th round picks. But I think, we ended up not even having a 5th round pick. So if you look at what we got in the 4th round, and a punter did go in the 4th round. Having Max Mitchell, a swing tackle, potential future starter at tackle, it's not really close to me, the value. And we're in the best spot at kicker we've been since we let Jason Myers walk. And Eddie Pinheiro, he just lost his job because he got hurt, and the Bears needed another kicker right away. He is an accomplished, solid kicker in this league. Did he miss any field goals last year? I can't even remember. I think he maybe missed one since he took over.
Yeah, I think he may have been blocked once. And that is one thing that does concern me with Eddie. And I do like Eddie a lot. And I mentioned it when the Jets were looking for one during the season last year. I think he had in 3 games, he had either missed an extra point or a field goal. And then every other game in his career, he made everything. He didn't miss anything. With him, though, I worry about the trajectory of his kicks. They seem low. Do you get that sense with him when, it seems like when the ball is initially in the air, it seems low compared to what you see for some of the other kickers. Any concerns over him, maybe losing the job to Zerline?
Well, that is a thing. And he doesn't have the strongest leg, so he's got to kind of finesse it a little bit. And that does start with a lower launch point. And I will say, as we start to rebuild and as we start to play meaningful games, I mean, having that guy who can be in range from 58, 60 at the end of a game, you just got to get inside the other team's 40 and you're in range, like Harrison Butker, that is a game changer. So that might be a concern. Last year I didn't care because it's we're missing an extra point. It's we're a 4-win team, we're rebuilding. But now that we're going to be playing meaningful games, it's something you got to keep an eye on. And that's the thing. That's going to be the thing. Do you want to go with Greg the Leg, who's got a cannon, but struggle with accuracy, or do you go with Eddie, who's really accurate, but maybe doesn't have the range? So it'll be interesting competition to watch.
All right, good stuff. Michael N., he says, we don't need a kicker with this offense now. Oh, my God. I will have heart palpitations if we are scoring touchdowns at that type of rate. Pat McAfee broke down his kicks. According to Pat McAfee, who knows his stuff, he's actually a pretty daggone good, obviously was a good punter in the NFL and not a bad kicker. He also can kick the football. According to him, it is fixable, but not an NFL caliber at the moment. Okay, interesting. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know he talked about Eddie Pinheiro. I mean, I'm surprised that he did. Yeah, we need one of those two guys to step up, and I'm pretty confident that they will. And Greg the Leg does have a monstrous cannon attached to his body, so
hence the name.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we've got a LaFleur mailbag, which I alluded to it earlier. I feel like this is going to be one of my points of emphasis this offseason is our coaching staff. And Dennis says, and thank you for the mailbag, Dennis. He says, draft picks aside, Can Mike LaFleur, in his second ever campaign, continue where he left off last season after bouncing back after kind of a miserable start to 2021? What do you think? Can he kind of pick up where he left off? Because he was red hot at the end of last year. The game flow felt good. The offense was obviously doing a much better job of executing. There was a lot of creativity. So what do you think? What can we expect from Mike LaFleur?
Yeah, well, I'll pick up with the last thing you mentioned. And I think the last 6 to 8 games was the most creativity I've seen out of a Jets offensive coordinator since I can remember. For the longest time, it was like 2-yard run on first down, 3-yard run on second down, and a punt, incompletion and a punt. But we saw flea flickers, jet sweeps, reverses, finding ways to get the ball in your playmaker's hands. And I think look at all the chess pieces he's going to have now. We're going to have so much flexibility. They can run any formation they want. You can go 4 deep at wide receiver. Last year, we tried to run the 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, and it was awful. We didn't have the horses for it. Now we do. I honestly think Robert Saleh has more to prove in being able to coach up this young defense because I love Coach. I love the hire, and I know it was a rebuilding year, but coming in as a defensive coach and finishing dead last in defense, that was a little bit disappointing. And I think we've done enough in free agency and the draft. I'm not saying we're the 2000 Baltimore Ravens on defense, but this is an adequately talented enough defense that now it's on him to coach him up.
Completely fair. And all of that stuff was in bounds. I have very high expectations for Mike LaFleur, and I see no reason why he would not be able to resume and pick up where he left off. Maybe there'll be a little bit of adjustment, learning the players, the new ones that he's acquired. But I don't know if we're in a situation where we have to count on all of the rookies right away. Like Garrett Wilson, to me, is going to be involved, but we are not relying on him to be wide receiver 1, not even wide receiver 2, if you ask me. I think initially he's going to be a wide receiver 3 in this offense. I think that's kind of what you're looking at. So yeah, I don't know, man. I feel very, very good about the offense where it's at, and I do feel very confident in Mike LaFleur. This was an interesting comment that was posted before we started talking about it. Michael Nania, burner account. He says LaFleur is going to be a head coach somewhere within 2 to 3 years. Absolutely, he will continue what he's doing. I got to be honest, we talked about that when we hired him, that, is there reason to be concerned because he could be a hot coaching candidate. I'll tell you right now, if Zach Wilson flips the script this season, he could be in a conversation this offseason. Like, I think that's 100% in bounds for Mike LaFleur. He'd be super duper young, but that's never really stopped teams before. What are your thoughts on that? Like the head coaching thing, does that scare you? Does that worry you? Or are you not really worried about it because it's a good problem to have? Like, where's your head at on that one?
It's a good problem to have because you hit the nail on the head. If he's a hot head coaching candidate, it means that he had a hand in developing Zach Wilson into a young franchise quarterback. And you've seen if you do that, if you have your name anywhere near taking a rather raw prospect from not a huge school, we saw Dable just get a job because he did it with Josh Allen. So I think that would be a great problem to have. If Zach Wilson is a franchise guy and we have somebody else calling plays, sign me up for that every day of the week.
Yeah, I have no problem with it, guys. If we lose LaFleur, it'll suck, I guess, but I'm celebrating. I'd be very, very happy. When was the last time we lost a coordinator to become a head coach? Can we think of that person?
That's a great question.
Who was it? Has it ever happened in the Jets' history? I don't even know. So anyway, yeah, big problem, I guess, for the offense, or it could be a problem, but I'm going to say absolutely, let's do that. AC says LaFleur is going to be an HC candidate in 2024. That's certainly a more reasonable take there for sure.
Sounds presidential, too. That's a good year.
Yeah. LaFleur 2024. Ooh, sounds good. All right, let's keep it moving here. I do want to get to Grant Root's question about Garrett Wilson because I just said that I think he's going to be wide receiver 3 to start out. But let's go to the next one. And this is from DMES Polit. He says, this is the best Jets rushing duo since Thomas Jones and Sean Green. And it's just a take, which I love. I don't think we get enough takes on the mailbag. I feel like most people just submit questions, which is totally fine. but I like the takes. I like the hot takes. I like the cold takes. What do you think on that? Best running back duo since Thomas Jones and Sean Green.
I think that's a complete fact. And I think Leon Washington might have overlapped with those two for a brief time as well. Maybe someone in the chat can double check that. But I think that's definitely true. And I think that, obviously they're unproven, but I like the home run potential of Breece Hall. I don't think that's something we've had out of a bell cow back. Man, probably since Curtis Martin, a guy that could just take it 80 on any given play. So I definitely think that the running back room is in the best shape it's been since the guys that you just mentioned, outside of, one breakout year from Chris Ivory. Absolutely.
All right, there you go. I'll say they're the most talented. I don't know if I'm going to say they're the best. And maybe I'm twisting it a little bit by saying that, but I'm going to go ahead and say they are as talented as any duo that we've ever had. And it's kind of like what Vern's saying here. Let's just see what Hall does first.
Yeah, the potential, right? I'm not saying he's Curtis Martin. I'm saying the potential.
Yes, exactly. And you're 100% fine in saying that, I think, too. All right. This is a great comment, and I didn't even think about it. Mike Pettin. He was the head coach of the Browns, and he was the DC of the Jets. The Rush 420. Very kudos to you, dude. You are the winner. I would have never remembered that at all. He was fired, and Drupacabra also threw in Mike Pettin. All right, let's get back to this question. So, for how long do you think Wilson is wide receiver 3? Oh man, I don't know. That's a tough question to answer because I still feel like Corey Davis is going to be a guy that Zach Wilson is comfortable with early in the season. It's not to say that Wilson and Wilson will not form that combination and that deadly duo. For how long though? I'll say November. He'll be wide receiver 3 for a while, especially if things go pretty decently in the beginning of the year. They're not going to force the issue. And when I say wide receiver 3, I don't even necessarily mean that he won't be on the field. He's going to definitely be on the football field. And I do think that they're going to design plays around Garrett Wilson. So regardless of what ranking he is in the wide receiver room, there will be specific plays that they call that are like, this is Garrett Wilson's, opportunity to make a big play. They did that with, Berrios. They did that with Elijah Moore. I see them doing something similar with Garrett Wilson, especially early on in the year. I'm going to say by the beginning of November, he's probably going to start getting those more opportunities to be a starter opposite Elijah Moore, which again, we would all be so excited if that were the case. So, all right, good stuff. We have 3 left, and some of these are pretty easy. This one's very easy. What will Breece Hall wear? He's not going to wear. He says, will Breece Hall wear number 28? And if so, who is coming with me to protest at Jets One? All right, One Jets Drive. One Jets Drive is the street name. Aaron, what number will he wear? He's not going to wear 28. What do you think? What would look good on Breece Hall? I think this is a fun off-season discussion topic.
What I do know, he's going to look really good in the all black.
He sure will.
I'll say that.
Yep. It's a slimming color.
Yeah, there you go. And I agree, he's not wearing 28, or I would join you in the protest. I guess I don't know off the top of my hand what numbers are available, but maybe a 23, a Michael Jordan. I don't know if we have a 23 that I can think of, but I'll go with that if it's available.
Okay, there's some good numbers. I actually thought of Bilal Powell, the number 29. I thought he would look good in 29. It's very much, it's close to looking like a 28, so he might go with 29. And then I also heard this from a couple of people. 27 is a pretty sexy number. I would be cool with that. And I've even heard people say 33. Little Chris Ivory look there. I don't know if I like Chris Ivory number 33 for Breece Hall. I think he's got to be in the 20s, if you ask me. I think that'll be the best look for him. 25 would be really cool. I would have a really hard time not buying a number 25 jersey. That's one of my favorite jersey numbers. Excuse me. A bunch of people are saying number 26. And what were you saying about Tevin Coleman?
He's 23. Someone just pointed out in the chat.
Ah, yeah. So Brees Hall. Okay, this I saw. I think I saw on the Jets Talk 24/7 stream. They were talking about the threes replacing the E's and Brees. Look, has a good look to it. Certainly could be turned into some swag, no doubt about it. This is a gross number, Drupacabra. I'm sorry. 36 is Brian Westbrook's number when he played for the Eagles, but I don't want to see that on my running back. Sorry.
34. Hey, I'll give you a name. That's Lamont Jordan. Remember him?
Yeah, the Maryland product. Yes, the Maryland boy. Yep. Number 34. And then this will be the last number. He says, what number do you think Sauce is going to wear? I think he would look good in 7. I don't know if that's a number that's available. He would look good in 7, and I think he would look good in number 4. If I know a lot of people have mentioned that one as well. I actually like 21 for him. 21 would look super good. I don't know if 21's available. I don't know offhand, but 21 would look really good on Sauce. He had
wore 1 at Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, he actually wore 12 first, and then he wore number 1. So I'm thinking maybe 12. You just flip it and you got 21. I think that might look really good on him. 13 for Brees Hall could look good, I guess. That's the thing. Like I'm an old time. Yeah, I mean, technically it doesn't have to be in the 20s, but I think it should be in the 20s. I think it looks better if it's in the 20s. Grant Rude says, I like my running backs with the number 30. Sean Alexander of the Seahawks had the ugliest number, 37? But he was 37. Yeah. He was such a good running back though, running behind that offensive line. So clearly the number doesn't really matter, but for aesthetics, I like 27, 29, and maybe 21 for Brees Hall. So, all right, let's keep it moving. We've got 2 more left, and then we'll get to our last couple of topics for the night, and then we'll just go to the comments, guys. It's going to be your show the rest of the way. This is from Owen. Did Joe Douglas earn himself another year, even if the Jets win less than 7 games this season? This is one of my favorites of the night. I think it's very, very interesting to think about. I have a specific take on it. I'm very curious to see what you have to say. Does he have another year if we win, let's say, 5 games, 6 games in 2022?
I think obviously the win total is an important barometer, but I think like a 7-win season could look a lot of different ways. And I think a lot of it is tied to quarterback. If we win 7 games and Zach Wilson's lighting it up, but we're a young team, we can't close, maybe there's injuries, that's a lot different than the defense really hits and our offensive skill position players are lighting it up, but the quarterback is still struggling. And Joe Douglas had a home run draft. Now, do we know that for sure? No, we got to see these young men on the field, but every educated football mind in America is saying that these were great picks at the time that they were made. It's not like he made a bunch of head-scratching decisions, and now it's like, oh, man, that better hit because that was a risk. Like, these were durable players with limited injury history. These guys were team captains, high-character guys, all good value at the positions they were picked. So it's honestly, it's really hard for me to imagine what kind of catastrophe would have to happen for JD to be fired. Then again, it is the Jets, so it's always possible. But also, what's important is when you talk about head coach and GM, you want to, as much as possible, keep guys around and build continuity. Because if I'm a prospective GM and I see you tank Joe Douglas after what he's done, I'm like, why am I going to come work for you when I make all these moves? I'm shrewd with the cap. I acquire assets. I combine assets to come up and get what everybody agrees is elite talent. And then it doesn't work out or something goes wrong for a year and then I get fired. Why am I going to come work for the Jets? So I think that is something that's worth noting too.
Great point. Who would we be able to get if we did decide to fire Joe Douglas? That's a very interesting question. I think that we should be at that, that 7 to 8 win range this season. Does that mean that it's going to happen just because I think it should happen? No. I'm not firing Joe Douglas if we go 6 and 11? Yeah, 6 and 11. If we go 6 and 11 next year, I'm not comfortable firing him. And you had said that, depending on what the 7 wins look like and the 10 losses look like, I'd say the same thing. If we're losing in shootouts and Zach Wilson is just a freaking beast, and our linebackers are not doing their job, and we're still kind of struggling in the safety position. Maybe the secondary struggles a little bit because of the pass rush, whatever may be the reason. If Zach Wilson's balling out and this offense looks legit, but we're losing, close games that are very high scoring, no way am I no way am I firing Joe Douglas in that scenario. That would have meant that he hit on a quarterback. And so, no, Joe D would stay in that scenario. I would be comfortable with keeping Joe Douglas if we won 5 games and, Zach Wilson's playing really well.
Even if Zach Wilson doesn't, man, and and everything else around him is working out, I'm gonna give Joe Douglas his shot at another quarterback. And I know that's speaking way into the future and it's way too premature. And there's been people pontificating that already. I have full confidence in Zach.
Me too.
But I think if you hit on all these other moves, obviously quarterback is most important. But Joe Douglas has just shown that his shrewd business acumen, respect for analytics, and the raw football bravado, that combination, that's how great organizations are run. It reminds me of how the Baltimore Ravens are run. He's not going to be a guy who leaves us with a bunch of dead cat money because we're paying Muhammad Wilkerson, Tremaine Johnson, and Le'Veon Bell to not be on our team anymore. Like, he's not going to do that. And that alone is worth him staying around, even if Zach Wilson, heaven forbid, knock on all the wood, doesn't hit.
And the popular thing that I'm reading right now in the comments is that if anybody should be facing some pressure this season, it should be Saleh, actually. And I think that's fair. 100%. I feel like the pieces that were brought in this offseason through free agency, through the draft, again, most people are agreeing. We should be, if not in the playoffs, at least in the conversation. At the end of the season, we should be one of those teams
in the hunt.
In the hunt, man. Like, we should be in that conversation. So yeah, I think that if we're just getting our doors blown off, seeing games like the Indianapolis Jets game last year, seeing games like the New England Patriots both times, the Denver Broncos shutting us out, if we see more of that in 2022, it's going to be concerning. I don't think they'll fire Saleh. I think that they're still going to ride with him and Douglas for at least one more season, no matter how ugly it gets. But I think that there would be a lot of heat on Saleh if we're losing games like that again. And I think there was a couple of comments, before talking about how we shouldn't be getting blown out anymore. It could happen still in 2022, but it should not happen at the the frequency that it was taking place in 2021. All right. We have about 100 people in here. Go ahead and hit that like button, guys. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate you guys sending in all these mailbags. We have one last mailbag, and it took an hour to get through all of them, but that is the beauty of it. It's just good conversation. And then after that, it'll be topics and comments from you guys, and then we will bid you a farewell. Secret Squirrel. He says, slightly off topic, because he's a squirrel, He says, why did the Jets sign only one linebacker in the post-draft signees? What are your thoughts on linebacker? Simply put.
If I had a bone to pick, it would be the one position I'm upset that we didn't significantly upgrade at. Now, there is still like a Quan Alexander that we could bring in. But it's clear that the Jets brass feels better about the linebackers they have in-house than I do, and I think most Jets fans do.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to go ahead and trust their eyes on that. I don't know if it's Sherwood they're thinking of coming back. I don't know if they think Quincy Williams has an improved season, or like we talked about before, are they planning on playing more 2 linebacker sets? Because, before we made the move for Breece Hall, I was pretty much penciling in linebacker at one of those second-round picks. Mm-hmm. And then when we got to pick 101, I was thinking Leo Chanel, and I like Rucker. But I was like, man, we're kind of leaving a hole at linebacker. So I think they like their guys better, and maybe there will only be 2 of them on the field more.
Good stuff. Yeah, I specifically made a video about linebacker during this off season. And I spoke about how I felt like that was one of the most underrated needs of the team. So to answer your question, I think that it's a little bit disappointing, Secret Squirrel, but I will say this, they were probably never going to fill all of the holes that they have. They filled a crap ton of holes this offseason. And like you said, Kevin, they must feel a certain way about Sherwood and Nasruddin and Quincy Williams. And I do think that it's not out of the realm of possibility that they add a Quan Alexander. I think it makes a lot of sense. And it'll just be interesting to see how long does he sit there, because if he sits there for a long time, it could be a really cheap contract. And I think Joe Douglas would be more than willing to make the swing for him. So, all right. We're done with the mailbag. The mailbag has been completed. Thank you guys so very much. That was like over 10 mailbags in one episode, and it took legitimately a full hour. So thank you guys so very much for all of the great questions and the takes. We're going to go to topic number 2, and I can do a much better job of reading your comments now, guys. So feel free to load it up. And here is the very first topic. It's just a report card. We've talked a lot about the draft, but you can give me like an overall score. You could give me player scores. You do not have to go every single player. Right. You can maybe give me a player you really thought was great value at the pick that we got him at, and then maybe one that you didn't love. Jorge Gonzalez, what's going on, man? Thank you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. What are your thoughts? Report card for the draft.
Yeah, man, it's got to be an A+. And I think all of the players were by people who know ball better than me or you or anyone probably in the chat. Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, it was crazy. Daniel Jeremiah, he's my go-to guy for college prospects. Him and Bucky Brooks, I think, do a really good job. They're better than just like the TV show guys like Kuiper. And he said, Jeremiah said that I think all 3, Johnson, Sauce, and Wilson, were in his like top 11. Yep. And to give a guy who was the best value, I think it'd be hard to go against Jermaine Johnson at 26. I was trying to talk myself into him at 4. I was on the fence. And then at 10, I was like, yeah, at 26, it's ridiculous. But the best part about it, brother, is as content creators, we can make whatever bleeping mock draft we want next year, and no one can say it's crazy because you couldn't have dreamed up a scenario to get those 3 guys.
I say that all the time. And before I even started making content, that's exactly right. Everybody wants to criticize where we're taking these players in these mock drafts. It is impossible to predict where specific players are going to go. You just don't know. People can fall. People can rise. Who was predicting Cole Strange as a first-round pick? Nobody.
I don't think Cole Strange's mother was predicting Cole Strange as a first-round pick.
So there it goes, man. A+ draft. I thought it was fantastic. And you said it really well with the Jermaine Johnson pick. I think I'm still going to keep beating the drum for Jeremy Rucker. I thought that the value there at the end of the 3rd round was great. Was it a huge need? No, not necessarily. But like Joe Douglas said, a need, a position that's not a need could be a need in the future. I don't know exact quote that he said, but essentially it was, you never know. You might have a need and you don't even realize it. So I think that pick was just outstanding. I give, a ton of credit for that pick. And then the Clemens pick is a bit, it's a bit of a head scratcher. He's going to be 25 this year, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah. And he's got a questionable pass, but I think it was one of those situations where, you went squaring away on your board the whole time. And I think somebody in that room was pounding the table like, let's give this kid a shot.
Yeah, no, it's pretty clear. They clearly like him. They wouldn't have taken him in the 4th round if they didn't like him. But yeah, that would be like the one that I would kind of point to. I like the Max Mitchell pick too. I thought that was good value in the 4th round as well. A developmental piece for the offensive line. I thought that was huge. So, all right, we're chugging along here. We got another topic. And I didn't see too many people posting their grades, but I did see an A+ here from HD Marino. Yeah, it's hard to give a grade other than an A. Grant Rude said, just like last year, this draft is an easy A if Zach pans out, if an F if he does not. This draft class won't be an F if Zach doesn't pan out, excuse me. But I hear what you're saying, though. Your point is clear. If it doesn't work out, it's going to impact the whole team. So I understand what you're saying. NFL Chaos with Jeremy says, what is up, Buffalo and John? 2 5th grade teachers putting in the work. You know it, brother. All right, let's keep it moving. Next topic, expectations temperature check. So you can do this in a bunch of ways. You can give me a win-loss, what's your early gut telling you? And are you trying to stop yourself from getting too far ahead of yourself? Because I feel like last offseason I got way too far ahead of myself. I was predicting 8 and 9 wins last year. and it was too much too soon, clearly in retrospect. And I'm trying to stop myself from doing that this year. What's your temperature looking like for your expectations this season?
Well, I think if we start by looking in our division, I mean, the Buffalo Bills are obviously, they're the number one bet to win the Super Bowl. So that's not a realistic expectation next
Are
year,
you
20
really a
years
Jet
from
fan or are you a Buffalo fan?
now. I know people ask me sometimes, they're like, do you root for the Bills when they're not playing the Jets? I'm like, hell no, I hate the Bills. You know what my life is like? Um, but that's probably not realistic. I think if you look at our roster, though, I think our roster overall is more talented than the Patriots roster, and I think it's on par with Miami's roster. So I think fighting for that second spot in the division, I think playing meaningful football games past Christmas, being one of those teams in the hunt, like where it's like week 14, week 15, and we could start drawing up those scenarios of how we get in. And the one thing I'll say, though, is that although on paper we look really talented, at the same time, we have four guys who are going to play a big role on our team, the first four draft picks who have never taken a snap in the NFL. So we may have to, no break, all gas, no break, but we may have to slide it into neutral a little bit and coast on the expectations. And we're a really young team. We were the youngest team in the NFL last year. We got a bunch of rookies who are going to be starting. So I'm imagining overall our roster might be even younger. So I think that situationally we might have to get better. We might have to get better closing. We still have a second-year coach, a second-year OC. So I think that this is going to be a grow year, a big grow year for us. And then I think in 2023, I think you might see real playoff expectations, and the excitement and the joy of Jets fans is going to turn towards put up or shut up in 2023.
So well said. There was a lot of good stuff in that, that rant that you just gave. Yeah, I'm holding back as much as I can. I'm pulling on the reins as hard as I can. I'm gonna stick with 7 to 8 wins, and I think I'm gonna stick there the whole offseason, no matter unless the whole team just gets injured. I'm not going to change what I'm suggesting here. 7 to 8 wins is my expectations, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that we cannot bite at the preseason. That's such a culprit for many people to watch the preseason, good or bad, and decide to change what they expect from the football team. So I still think that 7 to 8 wins is realistic, and I think that if we're not consistently competitive, that's going to be a problem for me. I'll just leave it at that.
I want to beat every team in the division at least once, man. I'm sick of getting swept by the Patriots, the Bills, and the Dolphins.
I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like we talk a lot about it, but the division has been brutal for us, just absolutely brutal. We have to start winning games, like you said. I'm not trying to repeat what you said, but if we don't start winning divisional games, just forget about it. Nothing's going to change. We have to win at the minimum. We have to win 2 games in our division. If we win less than 2 games in the division, you're looking at another double-digit, loss, season. It's
especially Miami. I don't know why, but it kills me to lose to Miami twice every year. They're not that good.
Yes. Yeah, they are middle of the road there for sure. No doubt about it. Buffalo and Jets just looks weird in the same name. I think that's the point.
I think that's part of my appeal.
Yeah.
It's like, what's this guy about? I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to some predictions or temperature checks for people here. So Andrew Gabrielson, he says 7 wins with a few close calls where we could potentially be 9 to 10 wins if we, jump over, if we get over that hurdle.
Absolutely.
HT Marino says Lakin's going to be a Pro Bowler this season.
I think he was last year.
Yes, indeed he was. He surely was. I think maybe that's what he was saying, actually. JR1068, he says 7 wins, but I'm hoping for 9. And then we have a mailbag here. I'm sorry, not a mailbag, a super chat. My apologies. Mike Jerome leaves a super chat here for us. And he says, Joe killed the draft, but my only issue is linebacker. We saw what happened when CJ went down. We have no backup middle linebacker, and other linebackers in general, we need more depth. Mike Jerome, you've said it very well, and honestly, we don't want to be redundant here. A couple of injuries at that linebacking spot is going to be bad. really bad. Unless there's somebody waiting in the wings that we're just not expecting. Hamza Nasruddin becomes like a superhuman at the the linebacker position. It could get really ugly if CJ Mosley goes down at the linebacker spot. That would be
Well,
bad.
that's a great point specifically because we touched on linebacker in general, but the thing about the kids we took at the end of the draft last year, they were converted from safety. They're meant to be like outside linebackers in a 4-3 base. We don't have a 255-pound snarler to come in if CJ goes down, which is why I thought maybe Leo Chanel could have been a pick to maybe be eventual CJ replacement. But that's a really good point. Like if CJ's injured, we're going to be looking at starting like a 225-pound Mike linebacker, and that does not bode well in the run game.
Good stuff. I would agree. Let's go to more comments from you guys, and then I think we'll start to put a bow on the show. This has been a lot of fun. It's a shorter stream tonight, guys. I have to be honest with you. I feel like I'm still reeling from the NFL draft. I'm still not recovered from that period of time where I was creating videos, streaming for hours on end, and then having to work this week has been a bit of a drag. But this has been a lot of fun. And let me just read some of these comments. No, he's not changing his name. People are telling me to change your name. No, it's great. He's from Buffalo and he's a Jets fan. There's nothing more that needs to be said, I think. Let's see. We got Tigo in the chat. Talking Jets with Tigo. He says, "What's good, everyone? Thank you for stopping by, man." Another caller from the Sunday show. I'm hoping to build that Sunday show up, man, and get you guys on there every week. That's like kind of the idea with that, is having more people appearing on the show. Different people, too. I want to hear from all of you guys. Jets Unleashed. He says, "We lose games that we are supposed to lose and win on games when we're supposed to lose. We are a missile about to go off on any team for better or worse." Yeah, the Bengals game comes to mind. The Titans game comes to mind from last year, no doubt. Let's see here. No, I know that there are people that are doing this. Absolutely not. No.
Really? Oh
no, I'm not going to do that. I made 5 mock drafts for this offseason, and that was enough to last me for a while. I need a break from mock drafts. And it's just so early. I know that that's like a thing, like making like a way too early mock draft, but nah. I'll do something else for you guys. Christy Marie is feeling it tonight. She earlier was saying Denzel Mims is going to have 1,000 yards this year. Jets are going to sweep the Bills this year. My gosh. If we sweep the Buffalo Bills, we better be in the playoffs, because otherwise that just doesn't make any sense to me. They are legitimately the Super Bowl favorite in the AFC as of right now, I think, ahead of teams like Kansas City, LA Chargers, a bunch of other teams. So Al Torres, he says, my favorite 2 newcomers. Guys, keep up the great content. Thank you, Al. That's very nice of you to say. Appreciate that. Yeah, exactly, Jorge. I want our draft to be so shitty in 2023 that we don't even care, about a mock draft. We want to have the worst picks possible. All right. And Michael N, he says 4-2 division record. We sweep the Finns this year.
That is much more likely than sweeping the Bills, and that'd be nice because we've lost a lot of nail biters against Miami, and I think it's time that it swings in our direction.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to some more comments. And I think we're going to wrap this up. This has been a lot of fun. And again, appreciate you coming on, Kevin, tonight. This was super cool of you to hang out with me. Do you want to talk a little bit about where people can find you on your channel?
Sure. It's Buffalo Jet Fan, just as it says. On YouTube, follow me on Twitter. I'm not the most talented, the most educated, the most tech-savvy Jets content creator, but I will say there's something about a hustle, and I've done 117 uploads in 68 days on YouTube, and I try to bring some humor, some analogies, something a little bit different to the Jets community. Come talk some ball.
Awesome stuff. And I will say that is one thing that catches my eye. You are grind city over there. You're pumping it out. The content is flying off the whatever you want to call it, the rack. So anyway, that's going to be it for this Wednesday show, guys. James will be back next week. And we're going to have Richie from Jets Media. He's going to join us on the panel next Wednesday night. So more guests. I don't think I'm going to stop. I'm just going to make that a part of the Wednesday show, is having James and I and another guest on the show. So hope you guys enjoy the collaborations. And again, thank you guys so much for watching tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. I'll definitely check out your channel, BJF. So definitely keep it up. And you're close to 1,000, right? Or you already hit it?
I just hit 1,000 today.
Woohoo! Let's go. Nice, man. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Yeah, man. I got a fun month lined up, man. I got Matt O'Leary, Jake Asman coming on, so it'll be a good month.
Very cool. All right, that'll be it, guys. Go Jets. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great night and peace.